Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video. A new video talking about an old subject as Rangers come up short once again versus Celtic as they fail to go to Parkhead and get the win they badly needed to keep a title race intact. A title race we should never have been in, ladies and gentlemen. The way the season had actually started under Michael Beale, but we've done well. Clement done well. They picked the pieces up, put us on a fantastic run, and yes, we got a wee bit lucky on the other side with Celtic dropping points, but we put ourselves in a perfect position to go ahead and lift and a very, very unlikely league title, but it's all came crumbling down when it really got to crunch time. And if you look at it from just that old firm perspective, that's 1 point out of 12 available versus Celtic. When you look at that, is that good enough to be a league champion? Should you call yourself a league champion if you can't beat your rival at least once in terms of a regular season? No really. We probably didn't deserve to be anywhere near it, and maybe we were lucky to get in the title race, but I still can't feel, ladies and gentlemen, how sad it is to throw it away. And maybe we are reminded with the results like Motherwell, Ross County, Dundee over the last couple of months after getting that fantastic win versus Kilmarnock, that this team just isn't built for success. This team doesn't have that extra ingredient, that extra 10-15% to become serial winners and lift trophy after trophy. We've won one this season, absolutely, and we're in another cup final, and listen, I'll be backing them and I'll be hoping they'll go ahead and win that as well. But in terms of a league season, I think it's quite clear now that even in this season, when we get ourselves in an incredible position to go top, they've just not got that extra bitty sauce to take them over the line, and the way they threw the points away against the Duffers shows that, ladies and gentlemen, and that's where the biggest frustration actually comes. And it's something we talked about yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. Form is temporarily, but being painfully average is permanent, and for a lot of this Rangers team, that's what they are. So I'm not going to be ranting, I'm not going to be raving, because nothing that I seen today was a surprise or shock. It's sort of what I've came used to, and I started to guard myself with the emotions after losing to Ross County. I saw the team blink, I saw A, B, C, D, E, F and G no being good enough and no having it in them to really pull a team over to a league title, and I've started to prepare myself, and this was the final nail in that title race coffin that again we were fortunate to get in, but it doesn't feel any better seeing how badly we threw it away in a game again that was decided due to us scoring an own goal. That's what's embarrassing and frustrating and driving you mental, ladies and gentlemen. We went to Parkhead, a notoriously difficult place to go. We played for over 50 minutes with 10 men. Yet still, what separated the two sides was an own goal for a player I begged in yesterday's video not to play in this game. And I got a lot of crap yesterday. And no, I'm not saying, oh look, I got it right, blah blah blah. I'm not saying anything like that at all. But I just feel like I've got to sit here and be honest. He's not built for these games. He's no good in these games, and that's why I begged him not to be played in the game, even though I knew he actually would. I wanted to be Raskin in there, and everyone laughed and mocked me, said he's not kicked the ball for months, but you can see the difference in quality in wee Raskin. He's really starting to come into a game. He's starting looking like his old self, and it's mad what happens when you actually give good players game time after a long injury. They start to build their way back up, and unfortunately that wasn't saw anywhere else as we did start John Lundstraum, and he had just absolutely a shambolic performance. I mean, there was a statistic out that he is now the lowest rated player in the entire SPFL this season, given what he actually done. And honestly, he was at fault for both Celtic goals. He scored one of their goals, and he sold the jerseys with a stupid challenge and put his team under pressure when all we needed was a bit of composure and leadership for one of the main guys in the leader group to go out and do that in that area of the park. You've got to call it the way it is. Lunny really sold the jerseys today. And look, it's nothing ever personal, as I like the actual guy a lot, but if I'm sitting here and covering for people that I like or I get on with or anything like that, what's the point of us even sitting here? And then I've got to call it out the way it is, and he was really, really poor today, for the first whistle to his last one, and I let the team doing badly. And it's one of these weird situations that you do get into almost that rhythm or a routine of feeling sorry for yourselves because a red card, because of an own goal, but you kind of get lost in that in the way we played in the second half and say, oh, this and this. There is positives to take mistake. There is a couple individual people, and that's what we spoke about yesterday. We've got a couple good individual players in this team. There's just painfully average ones sprinkled a wee bit more lopsided in the scale, and we needed the individuals to pull and overcome the average, and they just couldn't do that despite a spirited performance at Parkhead, which again had the Celtic entire fan base nervous for the last 10 minutes after playing against 10 men where tactical substitution for Phil Clement that I will never understand, and trust me, we'll get there as we're going to need to speak about laddie. So give credit to the players on the park that kept battling and fighting to the last whistle, but again, we can't get lost in that and say, oh, this and this. Take a step back. There's a lot of them just no got that extra ingredient, and that's to be a winner. When I grew up, ladies and gentlemen, when I was getting older and getting greyer, what made a Rangers player was that ingredient. No the sob stories, no the feeling sorry for ourselves, or the hard luck players that can play well for 3 months. It's winning trophies. It's time now. Step back, move them on. But again, as I said, there is nothing Phil Clement can't do for that until the summer, and a lot of the players that I want to see moved on, you'll hear if you stay around the rest of the video. But I need to talk about Phil Clement because I respect this man massively. What he done picking the pieces up for the Bale madness, that done putting us in a position to run, winning us a trophy this season. He's done tremendous. But I can't sit here and pretend I'm not getting annoyed and frustrated as we're continually setting up the wrong way in the biggest games that matters the most. And I knew we were trouble, not only with the starting 11, which, can I just say, and we're no experts, we're just fans, we follow this and we watch every setting, we focus on everything, right? We love this team, so we are so narrowed in and we focus. Every fan in the entire fan base of Rangers Football Club looked at that starting 11 and their arses clenched because we knew that starting 11 wasn't right, and it's frustrating that he continually does this. I rate the man so damn highly. He's done so well, but he continually picks wrong 11s, especially in the biggest games. And it's yet another game that's required a substitution at half time. It's another game that's ripping up tactics 50 minutes into it. Now, I know there was a red card in there, but even before that, I mean, 2 minutes before Lunny was getting subbed off, was anyone who's watching this game, at that point he had been booked, he had scored an own goal. Was there anybody sitting there thinking he was going to come out in the second half? Because it was obvious that sub had to be made. But of course that yellow card was upgraded via VAR to a red card, and there wasn't an option or chance to take John Lundstraum off the park, or that would have been another ripped up game plan. But it's so wrong, and I think a wee indication, a wee peek in to the old curtain is not only his mindset yesterday in the previous press conference saying a draw can also become champions. I thought that was maybe a wee bit of sparring, a wee bit of mind games to try and pretend how they were going to approach coming into the game. Then I listened to John Lundstraum's interview before the game, pre-match, when he sat and talked about riding the storm in the opening 20 minutes, trying to get on the ball and trying to keep it. Can I just take a step back again, ladies and gentlemen, and say one thing? Why on earth are we going in with that loser mentality? The same mentality that we see the Kilmarnocks, the Livingstons, the St Johnsons, everyone else in this league having against each side of the old firm. That's how Aberdeen line up. That's how Kilmarnock go into the game. That's how they talk when they play us or Celtic. Why on earth are we sitting there talking that way about Celtic? It's a rivalry game. Why are we talking about riding the storm? Can we never be this storm? Do you know what I mean? Can we never start off with the mentality to kill the game right away for the starting whistle, silence the crowd by getting an actual goal? Can we know do that? Maybe Phil Clement doesn't think he's got the players good enough to do that. That's why he's setting up defensively. In the summer he'll get rid of them and bring in others, and it will be completely different. But what I'm seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is the same mistake over and over and over again, and that's 3 times now versus Celtic. The Clements went eye to eye with Brendan Rodgers, and every single time they've took a 2-0 lead, and we've had to start slow, dreadfully. They go up 2-0, and then we battle back in the second half as we actually believe in ourselves and play football. But at that point, it's desperation time. We bring on subs that should be starting. It's the same routine. It's just a different day. But again, there might be reasons for that we don't know right now. Maybe he just doesn't think these players are actually good enough, so he's trying to protect it and ride it. But for me, ladies and gentlemen, as simple and as stupid as it may sound, all this nonsense of riding storms and hanging in there the opening 20 minutes should never ever be thought of, never mind uttered, when you're playing for a team like Rangers. And I'd be saying the exact same on the other side as well. Celtic should never be thinking that as well. It's the old form, it's special. What makes this fixture so special through its entire history is both sides lock eyes and they go for it. Bend in air and trying to hold on. It's just not for me. But of course, we lost the game of football, so I imagine it'll be extremely toxic. But there is a couple players I want to mention very briefly. Now, I don't normally do this for losses, but 2 players a day. Well, there was actually a couple more players than 2, actually, because again, there was a couple individual. But the 2 ends that stood it for me were Jack Butland. Thank God to that autograph chasing grown man that pays that man's wages. If you know, you know, because I don't know where we'd be without Jack Butland. Absolutely outstanding today, and truthfully, when you look at a lot of the players that's playing for Rangers, they didn't deserve to be playing in a team that's marshalled by the likes of Jack Butland. Not just in this game, but the entire season. The points he's grabbed us and stole us in games and carried us through. Not only is he quite clearly the best goalkeeper in this country, but he should be playing in the English. He could walk into a lot of the teams, in my personal opinion. That's just the way I actually look at it. The save after save, but he's been doing it in every game, and what's the mess and the minefield that's been in front of him, the fact that he still came on and put us in this position, a lot of that is in the shoulders and the hands of Jack Butland, who again was absolutely outstanding. And the other player I want to mention is young Dujon Sterling. I keep saying young Dujon Sterling, but Dujon Sterling, because again, this is a guy that's came to this football club this season and he's played in every single position bar his actual natural position, ladies and gentlemen. And I think it's a credit to the laddie that we want him, and we go into a game at Parkhead where it's dangerous, at versus Celtic side, we're given where we are in the season, and we want him to play out of position to play in the middle of the park. That's a credit to how good he's actually been. And again, in this game of football, he stood out to me massively. His power, his pace, and his ability with the ball. And the fact that we made one of the most baffling substitutions of all time, John Souttar coming off, Ross McCausland coming on, and then we decided to take Sterling and play him at centre-half, down to 10 men at Parkhead to partner Ben Davies when he's never played with him actually before, when Barisic and Tavernier is on either side of them. That was a recipe for disaster, but somehow, some way, Sterling stood up to the occasion and he was absolutely outstanding and stopped this from maybe finishing 3-1 or 4-1. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought him and Ben Davies were great today, and Davies is again a player a lot of people make fun of and do this and call crap and that, but he's never been crap. If we're being honest, he's made what, 2 errors in a Rangers shirt, which were painful errors that he's made, but if you compare him to the other centre halves, he's nowhere near as bad or inconsistent as the guys in front of him. And that's me putting Goldson in there. You all know how much I rate Goldson over the years, what he's done. He's been really poor this season and mistake driven, I'll call it how I see it, but Balogun just can't be relied on in terms of injuries and everything like that, and John Souttar is who John Souttar is. He's usually got a mistake or a tumble in every game that he plays. I think a lot of the Ben Davies hate actually came from he's not exactly what we wanted when we spent that money on a centre half. We all wanted a dominant aerial threat that will be a threat from set pieces to maybe get a couple goals and to deal with the physicality in the Scottish football to get up there and bully, and that's not what we went out and bought. We bought almost a like for like in terms of ball playing defender. We wanted the opposite of Goldson, who can play football and everything but can't get nothing on target. We wanted the big lad and we went and got Davies, so I think everyone's been turned off for the very start. But again, he came in there to a shit show starting his first game since October, playing with a right back at centre half, playing with Barisic these days, playing with Tavernier versus Maeda, and again, that partnership stopped it from being a cricket score. And this is probably not the way you thought this video was going to go in terms of some individual praise, but I feel like I need to do that because there is going to be a lot of frustration points, but there was some moments in that, but we kind of get lost in them as, once again, we came short. And speaking of fell short, that's how I felt after watching that starting 11 be announced, ladies and gentlemen. I'm known as one of the most annoyingly positive and optimistic people around the place, but I dropped like a stone when I saw that starting 11. I really, really did, and I almost convinced myself the opposite way. I went, it's that bad and that horrendously put together that it might actually just work. But even for the first minute, James Forrest, who's having a sort of career rejuvenation, I thought he was done, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? I didn't know he was playing much until the last couple months and everything like that for where he was. comes up against Barisic, cooks him in the first minute, drills one in to the mixer, and big John Souttar, who I've been very critical of this season because I feel like I'm the only one that calls it John Souttar. I give a lot of credit because people say he was lucky as he dives in, puts the ball and forces Jack Butland in a phenomenal save, or we're 1-0 behind in the first minute of a game again versus Celtic. But if you actually look at it, if John Souttar doesn't make contact with that football, Kyogo's got a tap in. So credit to John Souttar on that occasion. I know I've been critical, but that's great defending. He had to gamble on that. It's just unfortunately went against him, and thankfully Jack Butland said nana. But again, ladies and gentlemen, despite the scare, this wasn't a team that was instilled with belief to go ahead and win it. Again, we were riding storms, and the storm really came. It took us to about the 6th, 7th minute to really get a foothold on the ball, and it was a good cross from the left-hand side from Fabio Silva, actually cut inside. He done actually pretty well versus Johnson. Put one to the back post. Unfortunately, Sterling can't get there. Him and Taylor's sort of wrestling with each other, but again, Sterling can't get there to knock it on a play. Again, he's a fullback, ladies and gentlemen, but we're relying on him being an attacking threat. But then the 8th minute came and Diomande makes his 2nd or 3rd foul of the game already as he brings down, I believe, Callum McGregor, which gives O'Reilly the opportunity, and he puts the free kick a whisker wide, and I went, oh my god, thank god for that. We rode our luck right there. And then a weird thing happened. We started to win the ball in the middle of the park because we got by about the 10th minute and the crowd just got a little bit nervous, a little bit tense. And again, going back to something we talked about yesterday, that advantage that Celtic's got to a full house can turn to a disadvantage like that if you actually start playing football and create chances. See if you didn't just sit off them and let Callum McGregor sit back there and make 158 passes without anybody anywhere near them. If you actually put pressure on them, the pressure starts to come for the stands, and we start to create little bits as Ben Davies does brilliant to nip in ahead. Kyogo, he plays it, up in the air. Silva brings it down, he drives into the box, and unfortunately his curling effort with the outside of his bit goes wide. But it was like, put pressure, create chances. It'll never catch on. But that chance sparked Rangers into life and scared the crowd as Rangers then had their major opportunity. It'll be an opportunity I'll be thinking about for a very, very long time as the ball goes out to Dujon Sterling. He whips it right into the mixer. It's absolutely perfect. Fabio Silva just needs to header this, and it's 1-0 to Rangers in the first 15 minutes at Parkhead. It's another absolute sitter. Just make contact on it, but then this boy's sitting like this. And Disney, even, he did it. He's on his way. He's bracing for contact for Johnson because he knows Johnson's behind him. Instead of just focusing on the ball, taking whatever comes his way and scoring a goal, he's gone down like this, hoping there's a foul so he could get a penalty. Get this nonsense. Get this pish out my sight. I'm sick of seeing it, and as this Rangers team's got worse over the last couple of months, it's these moments that became vital, and it's quite clear that laddie's no got the extra bit of sauce that we needed to get us to where we did. If you look at his loan, and you talk about Adam Ada, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, in terms of Celtic's loan, that man scored the goals to help them win difficult games, difficult moments, Easter Road, etc., to get them in. Our loan, which we spent more money on, by the way, has only hurt this football club and held this football club back. I didn't care about a goal versus Morton, ladies and gentlemen, or a penalty won after the 15th dive at Ibrox. I don't care about that. It's been a monumental failure of a loan. And it's these wee moments right here, despite him doing well the rest of the game with his link-up play and he worked hard, that moment is what you're judged on. That moment was what we wanted in January. That moment is what we talked about in January in terms of wanting a Shanklin, wanting somebody that can put the ball into the back of net when the chance comes. We didn't go and get it. We took another gamble. We took another expensive loan on somebody that's not going to be here in 6 months. And the chances came and they all went. And you look at them over the last couple of months. But again, gilt chances and clear goal scoring opportunities we didn't take in the biggest moments were only our worst enemy. And it's got to be said, I thought this was our best spell of the game. And I thought Diomande putting in a lot of dirty challenges and bringing people down and everything like that provided a bit of bite in the middle of the park, just stopped Celtic from maybe getting in a natural rhythm, and that's alright. That's called the dark arts. Callum McGregor does it all the time for Celtic. Let's not pretend that he actually does. Good teams have always been had that player. I was expecting that for the likes of Lundstraum in terms of the 11, or Tom Lawrence, who shouldn't have actually been picked, but it was Diomande and it was breaking things up, it was making things nervous. We started to do it, but then again, We've got one glaring weakness in this Rangers team. We've never tried to identify it. We've never tried to do anything about it. We just continually kick the can down the road. But the left-hand side of Rangers is about as strong as toilet paper when you drop it down the toilet. It's so weak, it's non-existent, and it instantly dissolves with an ounce of pressure. The first one I'm going to need to skip over for time really. It ends up being a shot from O'Reilly, who is free on his own, rolls it just wide. The next couple of minutes later, Hatate's then got the ball again. He passes to O'Reilly, who's free at the edge of the box, who rolls it just wide. And I'm thinking, what is actually going on? Are we actually going to identify this? Can somebody shake and wake up John Lundstraum to actually go and put a wee bit of an ounce of pressure on Celtic's most attacking threat in terms in the midfield, and arguably the best individual player from the start to finish that isn't named Jack Butland in the season? Can we maybe put a wee bit of pressure on O'Reilly? Nah. As before O'Reilly does end up opening the score, and he ends up creating a major opportunity for Kyogo inside the box as he combines with Callum McGregor. I think McGregor then plays it to Kyogo, does a snapshot, and Jack Butland's having to make a fantastic save from about 8-9 yards. Actually, I was just surprised it wasn't buried in one of the corners, but again, he's hit the target. Jack Butland's great there. I'm thinking, oh my god, didn't he blow it away? We're playing well for 10 minutes. Davies is starting to get involved in the play. We're starting to calm things down, but again, we do nothing. There's no adjustments at all. We stand, we watch it on the left-hand side, crumbles. You could say it's really patient play for Celtic, but what I pull it back to, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at it, is the lack of cohesion in terms of our front line, because it's such a shocking pass for the right-hand side. I can't even remember who passes. Is it Tom Lawrence or is it Sterling or that? But there's just no communication there. It's ended up being a pass in behind it. No, sorry, it's Tavernier actually. I think he tries to pass to Lawrence and it's behind him, and it springs a counter attack. Celtic go down, they end up playing it down the left hand side of Rangers. It's a nice ball from Johnson in behind. John Lundstrom is absolutely nowhere. It gets pulled back to O'Reilly, who's free open for the fourth time in 35 minutes of an Old Firm at Parkhead. And when you've got the quality that man's got, once you can get away with, twice you're pushing it, third time you've won a raffle, fourth time he's definitely punishing you. But before we speak about what happens in the next minutes and gets lost and all that, I want to talk about the lack of cohesion, and that brings me back to Tom Lawrence. And I've said what I've said against Tom Lawrence, and I know he's got a lot of defenders and I get a lot of crap for it, especially on social media whenever I talk about Tom Lawrence. But Lawrence, I thought was going to be great for us. I really did. And he showed it in glimpses when he first came here, but he's just not got that extra bit again when the chips go down. He can come into a game and we're winning 2-1 versus 10 men Kilmarnock at a full house at Ibrox and score an absolute worldie. But see what I see constantly now in these Old Firms. See, instead of going for the shot that he's doing, if it's St Johnstone, if it's Hibs, if it's Kilmarnock, he doesn't take versus Celtic. It's fake shot after fake shot, then it's passing. Fake shot after fake shot, and you start putting them together. You forget about them because that's how it tricks you, but you put it together. How's he not shooting there? How's he not shooting there? How's he not shooting there? He's supposed to be the 10 and he was absolutely anonymous again. And what is worse about it is he has zero chemistry with Dessers. It's a red link in terms of Ultimate Team. If you know, you know. They just didn't combine well. They didn't get on well, clearly, in terms of on the field partnership. They can't play into each other. There's no build up between them, and everything just kept breaking down and breaking down. And this is where it annoys me, ladies and gentlemen, is he is completely flying under the radar again. Troops, if that's Todd Cantwell, and trust me, we'll speak about Todd Cantwell in a couple of minutes, if that's him that's put in that performance, not only the day, but in the last Old Firm at Ibrox, when we should have really went out there and won that game, Todd Cantwell's getting crucified by everybody. But because it's Lawrence, these bowerheads, we ignore it and we didn't call out. Nah, I'll call it. It's garbage. It's not good enough. And he's clearly know the answer. If that's the best he can do in the biggest games, in the biggest moments. He's played in the 10. He's got his best position. It's his natural position. He's done nothing in either in the must-win games. But aye, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the segue. Let's get back into the minute. We're going to get lost for the next 10 minutes, I feel like, for me, actually. Talking about it. We go 1-0 down at Parkhead. We need to just calm ourselves, get on the ball, play it about and show we've got a wee bit of cojones in that type of atmosphere. The Celtic fans are singing, it's absolutely rapturing for the crowd. We just need to show a bit of leadership and guys step up and get on the ball. Did we do that? No. Long balls to Nabday, empty possession. Within about a minute or two, they get down the right hand side of Rangers this time. They pass it into the mixer. I think it's Maeda that tries to cross it, and John Lundstrom runs onto the ball and tucks it away into the back his net, and it's obviously unlucky because he's no meaning to do it. Clearly, it's an own goal. But honest to God, see if that's the other way, if that's the opposite, I think he's missing that. I think he's got that in his actual look at it, just to run on the ball and cushion it into the back of net. But it just sums up his poor game, in my opinion. And again, in yesterday's video, when I sat and said I didn't want Lundstraum to play, he doesn't do well, I couldn't envision it to be as bad as that. You know what I mean? It's unlucky if you want, but it's 2-0 to Rangers, and it's another big player with a massive mistake in the biggest games. And I'm just sick of talking about that and talking about these constant mistakes all the time. And honestly, it felt like the game was dead and buried at that point. The fans were going crazy, it looked like it was over, and then Big Desser showed he's got some quality. And give a wee bit of credit to Barisic here. Obviously we know where he is defensively, he's not good enough defensively, but there's very few people that can cross a ball like him. That's the frustration. I think we'd have actually been better playing him as a left winger. See, if Ridvan wasn't injured, I'd have played Barisic left winger Silva. That's almost the stage I'm at with Fabio Silva. It might sound silly, but it's an absolute incredible ball to the back post. Sterling does really well to head it down, or does he head it up? I think he actually heads it along, whatever you want to say, against Greg Taylor. Absolutely manhandles up, and Desser's the right place at the right time. He puts it in and give this team a lifeline where it looked like it was dead and buried. We have got a lifeline, and that's what it's like being a Rangers team. And the next, in fact, including that, and then the next 5 minutes is a perfect summary of our entire season. Horrendous. Looks over. We give ourselves a spark of life. We start to get in the ascendancy. We're getting on the ball. The crowd is stone dead. We're building into it. And then one of our most experienced players, a major leader, runs in and does an absolute reckless challenge at Celtic's own 18-yard box when he doesn't need to make it. My question is, why is John Lundstram even there? Why is he there to put pressure on that? Do you know why, ladies and gentlemen? Because he's leaving O'Reilly wide open again. Troops, we need to work on that. I didn't get it. He's putting pressure on. And now, I've got to be honest, when I first seen it, I thought because of the way like Lundstram jogged and pointed to the ball, and some of the, maybe you could argue it was the lackey response for a couple of the Celtic players, I thought Lundstram had got the ball and then followed through and hit Johnson. And I think I said something like, they just want old firm players to cuddle now. It's where football actually is. And then I saw the replay, ladies and gentlemen, and I see he'd never got any of the ball. It's absolutely ridiculously reckless, right up the old shin, and aye, it's quite clearly a red card. But what I'd argue, ladies and gentlemen, is you didn't need to make that. I'd argue, why is he even there? I'd argue why he's no watching O'Reilly, but that's the experience of John Lundstram. When it's up, it's great. He's got the keys to the machine. When it goes down, by God, does he sink like a stone, and he was the stone that sunk our season. And that's how it felt when the halftime whistle went, because again, you're at Parkhead, it's notoriously difficult, you're then down to 10 men, you need to score 2 goals. It does look dead and buried there, and I think you can maybe look at the second half and say there again, mere character, mere mentality. But again, we learned that for the Ibrox free draw. There is players in the Rangers team you can build a side, and there is a spine there. There is good players in there. They're just let down by average ones whose form goes up and down, and inconsistent ones. And that's how I really feel about the second half. Obviously the substitution was made where John Souttar came off. Now, Sky originally said he wasn't injured, but it's now been said that he was injured by Phil Clement, and if he is injured, it explains the substitution in that way. But again, it's no Leon King, who was rated so highly and had Newcastle scouts after him. It's no that laddie. Ross McCausland is the one that's picked to come on to go in the right hand side, and Sterling, who is actually playing well at right wing by the way, gets put at centre half, and it just never worked. It really didn't in terms of an attacking perspective. Again, it's hard to say that, and people might say, oh, you've been way too harsh, your Parkhead down to 10 men, blah blah blah, that atmosphere. I get it, but I like wee Ross, and I talked about these types of moments a couple of months ago when it was all gone well for him, because I've seen it before. His name was Glenn Middleton. It's the exact same. Great European performances, great this, great, couple bad months, couple bad games, then he's bombed out and he's never saw again. It's the same with Ross McCausland, and I just felt bad for the wee laddie coming in there, because that was in a crazy depths that he was flung into, and he's no ready to swim just at that depths in my personal opinion. And he should have shot when he never shot. He had a couple wee silly moments, but I'm not going to sit here and pick on a young lad he picked for the academy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not doing that. I'm looking at the more experienced players, the Taverniers and that, who had another horrific game when we needed them to stand up there. That's who I'm going to look at. I'm going to look at the leadership group of Lundstraum. I'm going to look at these types of players as they're big, experienced players that's been around the block. I'm not going to sit and pick on a young laddie. But again, give credit to both Sterling, and Davies. Both of them were excellent, and I don't really know how it worked, but we didn't concede in that second half despite being down to 10 men and despite loads of early pressure as Celtic were sort of licking their lips as Rangers were trying to find out what they were actually being asked to do from the tactics. It would look lost for Rangers, but we held in long enough to steady the ship, and when we steadied it, it made them very nervous. But when I look you in the eyes and say we had a backline of Tavernier, Sterling, Ben Davies and Barisic, 10 men at Parkhead, you understand why the next opportunity is going to be about Celtic Football Club. And it was actually a penalty. And look, I don't really know how deep I want to go in and how much time I want to spend in this. When I first seen it, I went, oh, it's a penalty. Then I seen it back, and then I get confused. And this is the problem with VAR, and this is the problem with the rules that get spouted one week, then forgot about. Right, VAR, to be fair, did tell Willie Collum to go and look at it, but I'm not getting into it with this guy. I don't like him. I just think he's a clown, you know what I mean? The way he talks to players and goes about his business, he's just a duffer, you know what I mean? I'm not wanting to waste time on it. He sticks to his decision, gone back against something that he said earlier on in the season, he said earlier on in the season. But again, inconsistency is in Scottish football, and it runs Scottish football. So I didn't think it was a penalty kick because of what happened earlier on in the season, but maybe justice was served as Jack Butland stood up and made another phenomenal save. Again, showing we really didn't deserve this guy. But after the penalty save and fantastic reaction from Ben Davies, which a lot of people is going to not look at, but you think about some of the other moments we've had and the goals we've conceded from these types of incidences, the defender has to react quickly there. It gets in, he reacts quicker than Kyogo and gets the ball away. And then the 60th minute comes, then we make a couple substitutions as both Ridvan and Raskin comes into the game. Two players I begged to start this game of football, and it's two players that should have started this game of football. And that's not me looking back on what's happened now. No, I'm looking back in the last couple years. I'm looking back on all the old firms. You didn't need to keep making the same mistake as every other managers did. You know what I mean? The evidence is there. It'll show you if you look at it. But once again, we make the decision too late to play the players that should start the game, and they both done really well, especially we Raskin in the middle of the park showing levels on what Lundstraum's gave us for 2 months. 68th minute was Ross McCausland's chance from the volley as Dessers is absolutely unbelievable. Take a ball, run with it 40-50 yards on his own. He tries to do a pass, it sort of headers up into the air for the, I think it was Scales that does it. It drops to be Ross McCausland. I'm like, just hit it, son, just hit it. But he tries to do like a Joe Aribo touch in the inside, and again, that's just where he is, you know what I mean? He's no that guy that could probably even put it into the back of it, and he's no the guy to bring it down on the touch. He's the guy he's relying on because we have players that can't play week in and week out, that can show up in incidences. But it kind of leads me to where I am with a lot of these players. I'm even Ridvan I'm throwing in here because you know I'm a big advocate of Ridvan. I want to see this season us make a decision on these players that aren't reliable, and you know who they actually are. I'm sick to death of having 5-6 players who are great and make this team better and the best that they can be, but every single one of them can play 20 games a season and miss vital game after vital game. We need to stop making these actual mistakes. I know a lot of people saying build the team around Ridvan, and then we can't build it, we can't rely on him. He's injury prone, he's like everybody else at this football club. They like to say Butland and Sterling you can build on. They turn up, they play, they roll the sleeves up, they are do or dies. That's what you build on. We have to take a step back and you look at the others and say, nah, we just can't. If the bid comes in now for Ridvan, given the period of the season that he missed again for a daft injury and how much we suffered because of that, I think you cash in and get someone more reliable. Maybe not be a sexier name or anything like that, but reliability is the best ability. It's just something with no goat. Speaking of no goat, by the way, we didn't bring on Todd Cantwell, and you know, for me personally, I was delighted we never brought on a player that is known for being able to create something out of nothing, that can pick the ball up and run, who shows a bit of heart and passion, who will run his absolute arse and will get slidden, who will do that. I'm glad we didn't bring that player on, but we're bringing on the likes of Scotty Wright. And again, he'd had one good run, he did, but then he misplaces passes and misplaces balls, boots it out. It's difference in quality, and that's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It's fine margins, we need our best players on our part, but Todd Cantwell isn't deemed good enough to be on the park. Ben Davies isn't deemed good enough for months. Raskin isn't deemed good enough for months, despite each player we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is sitting behind folk that are making mistakes week in and week out and are badly off the boil. It's annoying, it's frustrating, it drives you crazy, but that's his football club. I guess it's as simple as Claremont doesn't want Raskin, doesn't want Davies, doesn't want Cantwell, and that'll be people that's leaving. But they'd actually be behind a lot of the other players I'd kick out the door first, if I'm honest. I'm just going to say it how it is. They wouldn't be the first ones I'd kick out. They'd maybe eventually the conversation would need to be had, but there's a hell of a lot of players that's let this team doing more than the three of them, but they seem to be punished more than anybody else, and I just didn't get it. We win a couple corners, we try to whip some in, but again we've got one centre back on and the rest of the team would be able to fill in as extras as Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, so we never really had much to actually offer in terms of the set pieces, but we were making it nervous, and especially the nerves just took up to a different degree as Sterling makes two fantastic interceptions, both of them on Aida. When the ball starts to come in, it drops to him, but Sterling's there the first time. The ball comes in low, he spoons it out the bar. And then again, Ben Davies is there massively with a fantastic challenge on Aida, the on loan Norwich forward, to stop Celtic from scoring. And it was just the moments you start to say, maybe, just maybe, but we never had enough quality. We took Dessers off for Kamal Roof, and oh God, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing it. I know Dessers had ran his panning, but I'd rather just keep him on the park because he's got at least something there. See all these balls we're kicking in. We didn't need Dessers to run the channel, but you know what we need? His physicality and threat. See bringing on Roof now and trotting on. He's got about as much touches as I did the day in terms of the game. It's never worked. It didn't work at Ibrox. It didn't work here. It doesn't work the rest of the season. Subbing on Roof for the last 10 minutes of these games and kicking long balls up against him is doing nothing, but it's just the way we actually are. We didn't break the system that doesn't work. We just sort of bend and try and fit people into it. Kamal Roof's done at this club. He's done at the end of the season. Injuries have ruined a phenomenal football player, but it doesn't mean we need to continue to ruin our season by throwing him in to the deep end when it's not working. And all these balls we kicked into the mixer and everything like that, I'm just thinking, see if we had Dessers and Roof on the park, maybe Son getting knocked down, because Roof was at least trying to move and showing, but he had nothing. Who's going to win a heater? Is it going to be Ross McCausland? Is Scott Wright going to knock it into them? Can they even put a cross in? No, they can't. Ross had two opportunities to cross it, couldn't get it off the ground, and Scott Wright's kicking balls out that's played right to them. So it's just how I actually feel. I feel like we got the subs wrong again at the end of the actual game. Nothing really comes for that, despite us huffing and puffing and making it nervous. We just didn't have the individual quality needed to make it 2-2, but even 2-2 wouldn't have been good enough today. A perfect example of my frustrations with this is about the 89th minute. Tavernier's got an opportunity to put a free kick in, right? It's about halfway line, just drill it in to the mixer. He doesn't do that. He tries to take a quick one to the back post to Ridvan. You know what I mean? Ridvan is 5'2" on a good days when he's standing on his tiptoes. Can someone just shake folk and say, calm down, and show a bit of composure? The punt clearly goes to nobody. It's easily won by Carter Vickers. The day of counter-attack, they've got the ball in the back of net as Maeda scores his second goal of the game, by the way. Both of them were miles offside, but it's all coming down for us, not just sitting the ball down, waiting for our defenders to get in to the box and giving us a chance. It's just silliness, ladies and gentlemen. We needed composure the day. We needed leadership the day. We didn't get it the day, and what's come down is another curtain on a league season, and that's it. It finished Celtic 2, Rangers 1. I've reversed scoreline of what I predicted or hoped it would be, but again, as we talked about, it's usually one goal separating the two sides. You could say it's lucky it's another own goal, it's another red card against us, considering the lucky goal they scored at Ibrox. You can keep saying luck, you can keep saying that, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But ladies and gentlemen, we aren't the good, so what can we actually complain about? We just need more character, we just need more leadership. And I can't help but think guys like Cantwell's getting punished for showing too much emotion and getting involved in stuff that he shouldn't he be getting involved but that's what's lacking. I didn't want a team of robots playing for Rangers, because that's how you lose derby after derby. I want guys that bleed the shirt and are dying on the park, likes Todd Cantwell. To punish boys like that and say you can't trust them because of this is absolutely crap. That's the characters I want in the team. The docile ones that just run about there, never and that is doing nothing actually for us, and that's how I feel. The league season is now done. We turn our attention to a cup final, and all eyes will be on that, especially the starting 11 as it needs to be right, Phil. Just do the right thing and play the good players. Know the boys that's played well for you when we were winning playing 2 months ago, because that's the same mistake Beale did. That's the same mistake Gio did. That's the same mistakes. They trust the players on the highs and backed them in the lows, but their highs are temporary. Their lows are permanent. Stop making the same mistakes, or again, Celtic will be finishing this season with 2 trophies to 1 when it should be the other way, and it could be the other way if we actually started our good players and dropped those who are so badly off the boil. They're genuinely cutting this season to the shreds, and that's what I feel, ladies and gentlemen. The season is definitely over in terms of that, and I'll look back to Ross County, I'll look back to Motherwell, I'll look back to Dundee as the games we lost it. But again, in these old firms, 1 point for 12 is also an embarrassing stat that needs to be identified, and that's the stat and the characteristic and the mentality we need to fix, because that there isn't good enough to win a league title. That there is how you end up bottling it against the actual duffers. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't a shock to me. I'm not going to go overly over the board here. I'm just telling you how I feel, letting it out. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down there in the old comment section below. And again, we'll have a video in a couple of days talking about, I'll maybe even upload it tomorrow if you want. Obviously, I filmed it at the time, but I didn't want to upload it during the old firm week because I imagine it'll be there. But if I'm smiling the more if I upload the video, don't worry, I recorded it a couple of days ago in terms of a new signing that's coming in to this football club. But I'll maybe see you then. If no, I'll see you in the next video. As always, I've been Siege92. Thank you so much for watching. All the best, and bye-bye.